here for us again, and make sure we're all on track with what's happening with our larger conversations. So, as a church, we want to take seriously Jesus' command to go and make disciples. But that word disciples is a pretty loaded word. It can mean a lot of things, and it does mean a lot of things. And so, what is a definition of that? Well, I don't want to just say, hey, a book I read once says this is the definition of it. I think we can work to define it together as a congregation, in fact. I think we all together can do that homework. One of those bits of homework is to hear one another's stories. How have you been discipled? What does that look like in your life? And so we are aiming to have a large church-wide conversation about that this fall. But in the meantime, I've asked several different people from the congregation to come and just present a little bit from their own life what has been their discipleship journey. So this morning, Christina Fleming is going to come and share with us. Christina, please.
Good morning. No, maybe that needs to be closer. Maybe. There we go. Is that better? Okay. So I had prepared it on what I was going to say on my computer, and I found out my printer's out of ink. So I'm not being rude using my phone, but I have to use my phone because I saved it here. So as Pastor Daniel said, I'm Christina Fleming. I realize that some of you may not have known who I was before today, or maybe you've heard the name but not been able to put a face to it. So after today, I'm guessing you will probably remember who I am. So before I start my story, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about what we've been doing since we've been coming here. I realize some people also may think that we're still visitors, but we are not. We've been going here since January 2014 when we were invited by friends of ours, Heather and Joel. Currently, I provide leadership for the teen Bible study at Circle of Friends on Wednesday. I'm also the financial secretary, and I'm in the process of starting a new young adults study and social group. And that was a shameless plug for the young adults group. I will admit that. And before I tell you what God has done in my life, I want to tell you a little bit about what has brought me to the place that I'm at right now. I'm the oldest of 3 kids. My brothers and I were raised in a Christian home. I grew up in a Pentecostal church, which I'm sure is obvious by my charisma. Yes, that was a joke. I realize I'm not very charismatic, but I did grow up in a Pentecostal church. My family attended church every Sunday morning and evening. My brothers and I were in VBS every year. We were in Sunday school, choir, and every play that was offered. My dad was a worship leader, and my mom played a large role in children's ministry. Outside of church, I attended a small Christian school. My family prayed together at every meal, and we all had our own Bibles to read. I accepted Jesus into my life at summer camp when I was 9. I can't remember the deciding factor, but I know it was something that I definitely wanted to do. My life wasn't particularly difficult growing up, nor was everything handed to me, but overall, I had an enjoyable childhood. Things changed in September 2004, shortly before I turned 14. My parents sat my brothers and I down and had told us that my dad decided to leave us for another woman. This woman was not a stranger. She was someone that we knew, and our families had been friends. At first, I was in shock. As far as I knew, my family was happy, my parents were happy, and my dad loved all of us. But his actions made me think otherwise. I think my most frequently felt emotions over the next few months were a mixture of denial and total despair. Shortly after my family began falling apart, my mom was in a near-fatal car accident. She had been driving home from her night job around 7 a.m. to pick us up for school and then head to her day job when she collided with a cement truck. The driver's side door was crushed and she had to be cut out from the car, and the emergency personnel thought she was dead when they first saw the accident. So not only did my brothers and I know about her accident, but we actually had to drive past it on the way to school. God spared my mother's life that day, but things were not easy for her afterwards, as she endured severe infection from the metal door of her vehicle embedding into her leg. The stress of the accident, plus living with my dad while he continued his affair, made things difficult for all of us at home. We all coped with my dad leaving and the aftermath of my mom's accident in different ways. I personally became moody, sullen, angry, and cynical. I didn't understand why God allowed this to happen to my family. But through all of that, I never once doubted God or his plan or his love for me. In the midst of what I felt was an unbearable situation, he was the only thing that remained steady. When I was 15, my mom insisted that I go to youth group. We had not been attending church since my dad left us, so I was hesitant to start again in any way. But I listened to my mom and agreed to give it a try. There, I was able to reconnect with friends from Sunday school, meet new people, and be taught what it means to really be a Christian teenager. My youth pastor, Keith, and his wife, Susanna, were huge influences in my Christian walk. They taught me that it's okay to ask questions, that God really does have a plan for my life, and that being a Christian can be hard, but it's so worth it. Keith and Susanna were genuinely interested in us as people and took time to get to know us all on a personal level. When I was about 19, God opened my eyes to the cynical person I had been for so many years. Even though I claimed to be a Christian and was trying to live the way that I thought I should, there was something missing. All the time I had been clinging to the comfort of cynicism, I was letting the devil win a victory. In a moment, I asked God for forgiveness and surrendered the emotional burden that I had been carrying. I'm happy to say that by the grace of God, I'm no longer captive to the negative ways that had been so familiar for so long. One of the ways I've stayed connected to God through all the drama of my life is to pray throughout the day whenever I feel like I have something to say to him. I have a lot of one-sided conversations, but I know that he's listening. Since my emotional wake-up call at the age of 19, I have been growing more in God. Before, Christianity was something I did because it was all that I knew. Yes, I chose to follow God, but I was okay with having a lukewarm relationship with him. In recent years, I have strived to gain a deeper knowledge of the Bible and to live my life in ways that are pleasing to God. I do not always succeed, but I know that God's continual grace encourages me to keep trying my best. One of the things that has contributed to my spiritual growth is attending this church. As I said earlier, we've been coming here for about 3.5 years. We used to attend a non-denominational church together before we were married, but we stopped going when they went through some changes that we didn't quite agree with. Our busy schedules and living in different towns made church hunting difficult. When David and I were engaged, we decided to start looking seriously for a home church in the Peterborough area, since that's where he was working at the time. We visited almost every church in this city over the course of 16 months, but nothing felt quite right. Eventually, we stopped looking for a while, and my friend Heather invited us to attend church with her and Joel. We agreed, and after one visit, we decided to come back for another service, and then another, and another. And after a while, we realized we both enjoyed coming here. I enjoy coming to Sunday service because I always learn something new and am continually encouraged to apply scriptures to my own life. If I could give a piece of advice to a new Christian, I would tell them to connect with other Christians because it's more encouraging than walking alone. They will also have a support system in place so that they can ask questions and see positive Christian examples. I would advise mature Christians to continually seek God. It's easy to get complacent in Christianity, but God is still able and willing to do amazing things in the life of an older believer. I admit there's something a little nerve-wracking about sharing our stories. My family history is not something I enjoy talking about because I have tried for so hard not to let it define me. I come from a family where divorce and infidelity is quite common, and at the time of my own marriage, I was the only person in my whole family that was actually married. But the fact of the matter is that my situation did shape me in some way into the person that I am now. I don't know how exactly God used this and other hardships for good, but I know that anything we face is seen and known by God. We are never alone, even if we feel like we are. There's a verse in Psalm 143, verse 8, that says, "Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I have put my trust in you. Show me the way I should go, for to you I entrust my life." I don't know where I'm headed in life, but I know that God is guiding me. Thank you.